On November 3rd, 2012, Richard Starofsky was riding in the car with his son when Moline police pulled it over.
Somebody got beat up in the vehicle, which was not true. So then the officer pulled us over down by Walmart in Moline.
Starofsky's been pulled over before, but this stop was different. The officer told them to stay in the car with their hands up. Starofsky's federal court complaint says he started swearing at the officer, who then told him to get out of the car.
I got out of the car. And then, I told him nothing happened and everything,
Starofsky's complaint says he was told to stand by the police car. He did, but then started moving back to his car. The officer warned him and then said he was going to handcuff him. Starofsky didn't want that.
My hands were crossed just like this the whole time in the video. I did not resist nothing. And then that's when the officer started basing me.
We asked for a copy of that video of the traffic stop through a Freedom of Information Act request. The city denied it, using several exemptions for privacy and law enforcement purposes already existing in the law. So we have to rely on the court records. Starofsky's complaint says the two officers held him and brought him back to the squad car. He says he did not pose a threat and shouldn't have been pepper sprayed. The city disagreed, saying the officers were not able to keep a hold of him. The officer admitted using pepper spray, but said he did not use excessive force. Starofsky sued and eventually settled with Moline for $5,000.
That's the only reason I did it, to teach these police officers they cannot go around in this world today and think they can just mace anybody or pull guns on anybody.
This is just one incident where a citizen complained about excessive use of force in the Quad Cities. There are other cases, but Western Illinois University professor C. Suzanne Bailey says lawsuits don't necessarily mean there's a pattern of violence.
As I've told students over the years, and when I practiced, I told clients as well, that the reality is that if someone wants to sue you, there's nothing you can do to stop that.
She's taught prospective police officers for the last 18 years. Before that, she was an attorney. Bailey says lawsuits and settlements on their own may mean a police officer made a mistake, or the city simply doesn't want to pay the expense of going to court. Lots of lawsuits together, however, start raising eyebrows.
You begin to wonder, what should the department be doing differently?
Bailey says she doesn't see those kinds of worries in the Quad Cities, but she says all the incidents around the country raise legitimate concerns about training and use of force. So what is the standard? The Supreme Court changed it back in 1985.
But the idea is that you use only the amount of force necessary to combat the force that's being used against you.
The old practice called for using whatever force was necessary to make an arrest. The court changed that with a case where a Memphis police officer shot and killed an unarmed teenage burglar. The court ruled that was not a reasonable use of force because the officer's life or other lives were not in danger. It was not unanimous, though, and there is still some gray area. At the time, some of the justices worried about Monday morning quarterbacking a police officer's decision.
It's very easy for us, I think, to say, well, they should have checked their moral compass a little better. I would say to you, if you can check your moral compass, pull your gun and defend yourself in 0.5 seconds, good for you.
Bailey says police departments routinely train on use of force because they are going to be faced with enormous split-second decisions.
I think it's inevitable. You allow people to have authority and discretion, and sometimes either the person's not capable of handling it well or they just make a mistake.
Bailey says police departments have made great strides in the last 30 years improving who and how they hire. But there will be lawsuits, and there will be people like Richard Starofsky who go through an experience many of us won't, an experience causing them to feel their rights have been violated.
And I asked for the commander, he came, and he goes, "Come on, Richard, respect the badge." And I said, "No, I'm not going to disrespect your badge when your officer did this to me."
Mark Stevens, KWQC, TV6 News.